Welcome to Resting Binge Phase, where two friends binge watch seasons of TV shows and we talk about it. I'm Adam McCoy.
And I'm Amanda Kathleen. Adam and I work in TV. We watch a lot of TV. If we were in the mob, we'd be pushing TV on kids on the street.
That's right, man. Your first taste is free.
Hey kids, why are you playing outside? Come watch this TV. Come get lazy, eat some snacks and watch some TV.
Don't you want to see Elmo?
That leads us into this week when we're binging True Detective Season 2.
The best season. No.
You don't have to.
Season
It's
2.
fine.
All right. This season got a lot of...
It's a season.
It's a season. You know, there's always a middle.
There's a beginning.
A middle, and an end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened. Adam, you want to drop some Season 2 knowledge on us?
I will drop some Season 2 knowledge.
Woo!
It'll be the most interesting part of the podcast. No. All right, so one thing that I found interesting was that originally Christian Bale and Jessica Chastain were both considered for roles in Season 2.
Oh.
But they had scheduling conflicts and could not commit.
I wonder if Christian Bale was in it, if it would be better.
I'm assuming he would have taken which role?
Colin Farrell's role?
I'm assuming Colin Farrell.
But if he were Vince Vaughn's character,
it'd have been so much better.
It would have been so much better too. So
Colin Farrell and Christian Bale. That would okay. Jessica Chastain.
I could take her or leave her.
Yeah. I don't think Rachel McAdams did a horrible job.
No. The stuff that's wrong with it is not her fault.
It's not her fault.
No.
All right. And as you can probably tell by our demeanor, and if you've seen the show, Season 2 was not as well received as Season 1.
No.
I mean, it got a lot of flack for that.
Right.
But in a rare move, HBO's programming president, Michael Lombardo, admitted the reason it was so bad was his fault.
Oh.
Because he specifically rushed.
I was going to say, it felt rushed.
Yeah. Pizzolatto to repeat the success of Season 1. He's like, you got to do it. So he was like, well, when you tell somebody to hit an air date as opposed to allowing the writer to find its own natural resting place, that's when it gets bad. So we failed. He had essentially said it was his fault.
I was going to say.
And then he resigned in
2016
after 33 years.
He was like, it's my bad. I'm just going to quit, guys.
Sorry, guys. Because it got picked up very quickly. I think before the first season finished. They were like, yep, we're going to make a second season.
Yeah, because the time between the second season and then this season now, I felt like
it's like 3 years, right? 2 or 3 years. It was 2015 is whenever Season 2 premiered. So it's been 3 years. It's been a while. Almost 3 years. Another kind of interesting fact. I know we weren't big fans of the opening for the last one, even though it won an award, right? An Emmy. But T-Bone Burnett, who's the guy who's in charge of all the music for the show, in the second season, apparently, and I didn't know this because I did skip the intro quite a bit, he used different portions of the same song. So if you watch each opening, there's different lyrics throughout each opening. So Leonard Cohen's Nevermind is the name of the song.
Right.
And they specifically use different parts of the song to try to coincide with what that episode was about.
Okay.
So none of the openings are the same. The visuals are the same.
Right,
but they
the
change all the
songs
audio.
are... I really didn't care for it.
And on a final factoid, the main plot of this season is it surrounds the city of Binge, California.
Right.
It's this crime bed, tax shelter place. Well, he admits that this season was based on a town called Vernon, California, which is a very similar storyline. So it's a tiny industrial town of only like 114 people. And it's full of polluting factories and slaughterhouses. And it's been controlled by two families for over a century.
Oh, wow.
So he took a lot of things from that actual town and put it into the story.
That's cool.
That's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure they love him in Vernon, California.
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, only people that look for that information would be able to know that, so they shouldn't get too hard up about it.
Yeah, it's only 114 people. Not a lot of people know about it. So one last thing, we mentioned it last week, was this season there was not one director for the whole season. And part of that is speculated that last season, Pizzolaze did not get along too well with the director. Apparently, the director fought really hard for that long 6-minute tracking shot.
Oh, and he didn't want that?
And yeah, Pizzo, whatever his name is, author man, was like, no, we should cut it up. He's like, no, you want this to be kind of visually different than the other episodes.
Right.
He had a lot of ideas, and they speculate it kind of comes down to the author's a little conceited. He kind of likes to have his own way. He didn't want anybody else. Like a showrunner, they're called showrunners for a reason. They're supposed to run the show, right?
Right. I think that probably leads to him being a novelist because you work so much by yourself.
And you're in control
of
everything.
And when you work in film, it's different because it's a collaborative effort between multiple creative people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably what they clashed at, right?
I mean, the story was... I know we're going to complain about season 2, but the story was better in season 1. I'm going to say than season 2, but I think had they had the same director for all of season 2,
it would have helped.
It probably would have been better,
right?
You would have. I think
it would have helped a little.
Yeah, but that apparently is one of the reasons he kind of wanted to have control over the whole thing. So if you have multiple directors coming in at different times, you can kind of be the cock of the walk and
tell them like, well, on last scene we did it this way.
Yeah, I make the rules.
Maybe that's why season 2 wasn't as good as the first one.
Maybe. So that's some of the stuff that I found.
Adam's done dropping knowledge on us for season 2. This is your spoiler warning. We're going to talk about True Detective season 2. If anybody cares. Maybe you do, because you're my mom and you like that season. I'm not going to urge you to go watch this one.
Yeah, this one you can just listen to us complain. I mean, talk about it. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to give a brief overview.
I think our Game of Thrones recaps are seeping into our regular.
Yeah. We're gonna try to go back to a shorter.
Right. We don't have to recap it for you. You've seen it.
You've seen it, and if you haven't, you're not gonna know what you're missing. So, so the premise of season 2 is the town of Vinci, California, right?
Right.
There is a disappearance of Ben Casper, who's the city manager.
Correct.
Turns out later, actual murder, they find his body.
So the whole first episode, you get to lay down.
You get to lay down. And it's 3 main components.
Correct.
Departments who are working this. So we meet Rachel McAdams' character, Detective Annie Bezerades.
I don't know.
Bezerades.
All the last names are very hard to pronounce this season.
So she is one of the characters.
We're going to call her Detective Rachel McAdams.
There we go, yeah. So she works for the Sheriff's Department, I believe, is one she works for technically.
Yeah, but is it the Sheriff's Department for the whole state of California or South Carolina?
I didn't care enough to...
Nobody cares. Okay.
She's serving warrants, or she's signing eviction notices, she's busting prostitution rings, she's doing missing persons, she's doing murders, so she does everything.
I guess.
Sheriffs I know do a lot, sheriff's departments.
Okay.
Colin Farrell is a detective for the Vinci Police Department.
Right. He lives in Vinci.
He's
from that area.
He's kind of a corrupt cop.
Right.
Vince
Let's just say all of Vinci is corrupt.
Yeah, the whole area of Vinci is corrupt.
Everybody.
And then Tyler Kitsch, who plays Officer Paul Woodrush, is a state
highway patrol
officer.
Yeah.
He's the other piece of this puzzle.
Right.
And these three end up forming a unit to
so they
investigate.
They find the dead body on the side of the highway. So obviously the highway patrol is going to be associated. Then the sheriff's department is going to be associated because it's a high profile dude. I don't know. And then the city of Vinci is going to be involved because it's their dude.
It's their missing person.
Right.
Yeah, it was their case.
It was their missing person first.
But then the state's going to come in and be like, we want to get dirt on everybody. So they're kind of running the whole thing.
Right.
Officer McAdams is their go-to person to make sure that trying to get some evidence saying that Colin Farrell is corrupt and that the whole town is corrupt, essentially.
They want some dirt, so she's going to work the case, but the other guy's working the case for other reasons.
So a lot of stuff happens, but the whole point is these three are trying to figure out what's going on.
Right. You see Vince Vaughn's character, who's a old gangster. He was doing shady stuff in Vinci, running things like mob would.
Yeah, he had a couple clubs. He had some other corporations.
Now he's like straight laced and wants to do
he's trying to be a businessman.
Big wig.
Make the big money.
Wear
the suits.
Yeah, he put some money in some land that the dead guy took from him. And then he found out that he didn't give his money to the right people, so he just lost all that money. So the entire time, everyone was trying to figure out what happened to Casper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody knows. His
Nobody
eyes were burned
knows.
out with acid. His crotch was shot off with a shotgun.
Right.
He's into some weird, kinky stuff
Sexually.
all around. I mean, weird stuff, right? And I'm going to say the first 4 episodes were incredibly slow. I did not find them that engaging.
It's just not very, I don't know. I think because you have so many characters
There's a lot going on.
that you have to touch through each and every one of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's necessary. Like, in all honesty, if you took Vince Vaughn's character out of the story, would it change the ending? No, it wouldn't change the ending.
No, everything else would happen
Everything else would happen the same.
Yeah. Now, if you separate
I mean, that's
Vince,
telling, right?
if you separate Vince Vaughn's story and Colin Farrell's story, to me, that's an interesting story. Just that dynamic.
Right.
And his whole thing going on with Colin Farrell.
Right. I mean, the whole reason why Vince Vaughn's character is there is to set Colin Farrell's character off on a different path. Because he was a straight-laced cop.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife got raped. And Vince Vaughn found information that he found the rapist and gave it to Colin Farrell. And then he took that information and killed the guy.
And then Vince Vaughn had dirt on him, so he started doing jobs for Vince Vaughn.
Right.
And he became dirty.
That's really the only reason why Vince Vaughn has to be in this story.
Yeah.
Like, the whole plot with him and the Russian gangster guy.
That's secondary.
It's secondary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really doesn't have to be there at all.
At all. So Vince Vaughn's trying to get Colin Farrell to say, hey, figure out where my money is.
Right.
Why Ben has been killed. If you find out who killed him, maybe we can get my money back.
Right.
Turns out they investigate. Someone takes a video of a pawn shop where someone turned in some of the items from Ben's house.
Right.
They're like, that must be the person. It was a prostitute. They go back and track down the pimp for that prostitute.
Right.
And like, we're going to go invade the place. All 3 teams.
It's a hard scene, man. It's like they form like a SWAT or whatever.
And
they go
get
down there.
attacked.
They shoot everywhere, and they're following them. And then they're in a crowd of people protesting. And, like, the people get shot at.
They get
and then
mowed
the bus.
down.
There's a bus, and then people on the bus get shot at. It's just a terrible. It's not even a good scene.
No, it's not like super action packed and well done like the scene in the first season, the 6-minute scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot going on. People get shot in the head. A lot of people die. They end up killing the person who they think committed the murder.
Similar to season 1.
Yes, they think they got the person. Gee,
Which I was like, okay.
rehash this.
I wonder whose idea that was. Maybe that guy that got fired.
So that's the end of that episode. That's episode 4.
Right.
Episode 5 starts back up. It's like, 2 months later, all this stuff has changed.
Rachel McAdams has a feeling.
That
Something
not
didn't
right.
go down right.
Colin Farrell now works for as private security for Vince Vaughn. He's no
Right.
longer a police officer.
No.
He left. The state patrol agent now is like working insurance fraud investigation.
Right.
Something weird.
He's a detective for
He's
insurance
at a desk
fraud.
and he can't handle it.
I need to be on
I
the
gotta
open
be on
road.
the streets as long as I'm on my bike. I gotta be on my bike. Put me on my bike. Yeah, so they all 3 agreed to work together again.
By the woman that was trying to get Colin Farrell and put him in prison, which I thought was very awkward. I really didn't like her character at all.
No. And I'm going to be super superficial here. She had this big knot on her chin, and they kept shooting at a low angle. And I'm like, don't shoot her at a low
didn't even
angle.
notice
That's
that.
I feel bad for her. Shoot higher up.
I didn't notice it because I'm going to say I spent half the time on my phone. I'm like half listening and half not listening.
I committed fully to this, and I am internally sorry for doing so. So she convinces him now because the son that he may or may not be the father of because his wife was raped.
Right, at the time of conception.
She says, look, I know they're trying to get sole custody of the boy. If you do this for us and come back on the case, we'll see what we can do. We'll help you out. Even though I hated you 2 months ago.
Right, I'm cool now.
Yeah.
Because they found the real rapist. The
plot
guy
is so horrible.
Right, so the guy he killed earlier is not the rapist.
Nope, turns out they did a DNA test, they caught somebody else. The person that Colin Farrell killed was not the man he thought he was. Yeah.
So that's a thing.
So then he thinks Vince Vaughn screwed him over to begin with. It's a whole ordeal.
It's a thing,
They
man.
get into a standoff with guns under the table. They both hate each other, think they're going to kill each other. They work it out, though.
Right.
Because it wasn't me.
Right.
Meanwhile, they all still want this hard drive that Ben Casper had at his house. He was recording all these weird sexual encounters.
Like important people.
Yeah, doing weird things.
With sexual things.
Bird heads and animal masks. I just literally just finished watching it yesterday, and I'm already over everything that happened.
I mean, me too.
Because I have so many more complaints about the show than even wrapping up the plot. There are these weird underground sex parties.
Right.
The mayor's son is having these parties, so he's big into all this corruption on the back end that nobody knows about.
The mayor of Vinci.
The mayor of Vinci.
Anyway, there's sex parties. Rachel McAdams' sister's involved in like prostitution stuff. She gets her into this sex party.
It's like, I'll sneak you in. You can use my name.
She goes in, finds a missing girl.
Oh yeah, that's a coincidence.
Kills somebody. Comes out.
Colin Farrell and the other dude grab some documents from the party with all these weird, corrupt people. So everyone's involved.
Everyone's going down.
Everybody but Vince Vaughn is at this party, and everybody's.
Right. And everyone is so much more corrupt than Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, he's supposed to be
the mob guy.
He's the likable mob guy.
Ugh.
No. They get the paperwork. They get the girl back. She's like, "Fuck you! I didn't want to be rescued. I love being a prostitute.
I love being a prostitute. I made so much
life.
money. I don't care if I bone ugly dudes.
Yeah, I have a good life.
Whatever.
Sometimes I take too much Molly. That's it.
That's it. So, like, now the police are after them because the city of Vinci knows that they have information on a bunch of people.
Yeah, they want to shut these three down.
The potential governor wants them down.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the first one to die, biker guy. Biker detective.
He gets a call, blackmail.
Highway police.
Because he's
gay, but he's not gay. He can't figure out who he is.
Someone has pictures of him.
Photos of him.
They call him to meet. He ends up getting ambushed. You think he escapes, but then he gets shot.
You think
he
escapes, and like very conveniently, one of the lieutenants from Vinci is like waiting outside the door that biker detective comes out of from like the underground and like shoots him in the head. I'm like, how did he know he was going to end up there?
Twice in the back, he dies.
Supposedly, the city has tunnels everywhere.
All over the city.
All over the city.
So while that's going on, this boy gets killed, McAdams and Farrell hook up and have sex in a weird, awkward, we both are emotionally broken type of thing.
We should just hang out together.
Let's talk about our problems. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
And then so that's the end of this episode. The next episode is them waking up and recovering from that.
Right.
A weird, slowly get dressed. Let's not talk about what happened.
Right.
Type of thing.
And then somehow they get with Vince Vaughn, and Vince Vaughn's going to kill all the Russians because he's taking over all of his property. And he needs Colin Farrell's help. And so Rachel McAdams is left behind to like wait for Colin Farrell. And then the last episode's like, there's a shootout at some cabin in the woods. And they killed all the Russians.
They killed everybody.
And then
$12 million. They take the $12 million. They part ways. And then bad stuff happens to both.
And then Colin Farrell and Vince Vaughn die.
Yep.
And then Rachel McAdams goes down to Venezuela and hangs out with Vince Vaughn's wife.
Mm-hmm. And then she has a baby.
She has a kid from Colin Farrell. And that's how it ends.
End scene. All right. Commencing criticism in 3, 2, 1. This season was horrible.
I mean, it wasn't like horrible, like, I'm going to scratch my eyes out, this is Iron Fist bad. But it was like, there was potential. I mean, it was very interesting to see, like, the 3 different cops, and then at the end, they have to work together.
There was potential there, I would say.
That thing is very interesting. Vince Vaughn's character is not interesting. I mean, none of the characters are interesting. Not even Colin Farrell.
No, Colin Farrell's character is pretty interesting.
No, it's not interesting. And then like that...
He does like a pound of blow, 2 bottles of whiskey.
But I feel like that's Colin Farrell. Like, that's not a
He's like, it's a Thursday for me.
Like, he has this son that he, like, yells at, but he's like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm nice, really. But, like, the entire time they were alluding that he's not a nice guy, but he only does nice things. So I'm like, I don't understand. Is he nice? Is he not nice? I don't get it.
We got a lot of issues. So where do you want to begin?
I don't know. I'm just complaining right now.
My biggest thing was the very first episode was the worst episode.
It was not very good.
All of them. First things first, it felt like an episode of NCSI Mines Criminal Miami.
Yeah, because the second episode is much better.
Everything was so convenient.
Everything was convenient.
Everything was convenient.
Yeah, 100%.
McAdams serves an eviction notice, and there happens to be a missing person. And this woman who's very mouse is like, why don't you guys do your job and look for this woman? Okay. I'm sure that won't play a part later on.
Nope.
Then she happens to go investigate a brothel where her sister happens to work at.
Right.
And after that, they're like, well, I'm going to go investigate this missing person. Let's look up the last place she worked. Oh, it's this commune that my dad works at.
No, she didn't even look it up. She said she works at some religious place on a hill. And then she was like, oh, yeah, this place where my dad works at? She's like, yeah, I think it was that one. I was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, that happens to work.
When
they find Ben, the city planner's body, what's his name? The state trooper guy. He's gone on his little rant. Like, I'm driving with the lights off for no reason because I'm drunk and I'm mad at the world. He turns his lights off on the motorcycle and it drives, hoping he's going to crash. And then he decides to change his mind. And it just happens to stumble right upon the one place in all of California where the body was dropped.
Right. I mean, I don't mind that scene as much.
If that was the only thing, maybe.
Right. I'd be like, okay. Rachel McAdams, for sure.
Okay.
First of all, Rachel McAdams' whole, that whole story of her character is just all convenient.
Yeah.
Her dad knows everyone.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So, Dr. Pittler is Ben Casper's therapist.
Who's also a
plastic surgeon who does cosmetic surgery for local prostitutes. That'll come in handy later.
Right.
He was also a regular at the commune in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
Oh, and so was the mayor.
Right.
Yeah. So they all knew them.
Involved.
Yeah. And then Vera, the girl who was missing, happened to be a prostitute with Tasha, who was Ben's Casper's favorite prostitute.
Right.
And she happened to send Vera, for some reason, these incriminating photographs for blackmail. Right. She happened to send them to her.
Just happened to.
And then her sister happened to get the contents of the box just in time to give to Rachel McAdams. And then the state trooper man, he just the closeted homosexual just happened to work at Black Mountain with Miguel Miguel, the guy he hooks
up with, who
happens to be working security for the Catalyst Group.
I can't.
And then Dixon, one other officer who was assigned to this trio of officers investigating everybody, happened to take pictures of these two engaging in sexual intercourse. And then the sergeant happened to stumble upon these pictures after Dixon died. And it's a good thing the guy in the picture also works for me. He could call you and have you come over here. It was way. It was this is ridiculous.
Like, everyone was involved with everyone else, and it was just really.
It was way too convenient.
I thought at that moment when he was getting the pictures and he showed up and it was the guy that he worked with.
You thought he set him up?
I thought he was just doing that, to get him to come out. And I was like, oh, that's a breath of fresh air. And then they're like, nope,
we're going to kill you.
We work for the Catalyst. And I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Well, he did say inside, hey, if you just be you, this wouldn't have happened.
No, but I meant I thought it was a totally different take on the, I didn't think he was involved with anything. Well, I thought it was a nice breath of fresh air.
Nope.
No, that's not the case. And I was like, okay.
So the convenience of for me was way too much.
The convenience is too much. The characters aren't really developed very well. I think that has to do with there's too many of them. Because in the first True Detective, there's only
two main
Matthew
characters.
McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. So there's time to develop them.
It's when you had four.
You had you had four
main characters, and then everyone else had a storyline.
You had to give them like a intense storyline.
We forgot about the two little kids who were killed for the blue diamonds. That whole storyline.
Okay, the whole series of events happened because when the riots were happening, they had less police force, and somehow Casper stole diamonds from some woman that he was banging, and that's literally what started all of this. What started all of this.
Then the daughter of the woman who was killed ends up getting a job as Ben's personal assistant, so she knows all the ins and outs. She gets her brother a job on the movie set where they're getting tax breaks.
And then he's the one that kills Casper. And you're like, okay, so it wasn't anybody else, but this guy. It was too much, but not enough at the same time.
Yeah, it was too much going on, but not
Right.
enough anything super original or interesting
Right.
to hold your interest.
Had it been like a 2-hour movie, it would have been like way better. Because
Yeah,
it
they could have
doesn't
done it
work
in a
as
movie.
8 episodes because there's not enough to go through it all. And then what they did give us was not good. They could have developed the characters way better, and maybe that would have helped. But I think there was just too many of them.
Yeah, there are way too many inconsistencies throughout too with how they behaved.
Right.
Like Vince Vaughn's character, at one point, the Mexicans come in and essentially steamroll Vince Vaughn.
Right.
But he has this history of being this person that he took on everybody else in the town that he gave his businesses back to. So like 8 different organizations and places. Everyone got scared of him. The Mexicans come in. He's like, okay, do what you got to do. They end up killing a woman integral to what he's trying to find out. And he just lets them go, then lets them come into his club for a year.
Right.
Then in the end, they kill him.
But my question is, how did they find out the car that he just got?
Maybe they were tipped off. Or someone just tailing him the whole time.
Convenient.
Again, too convenient. But my thing is, for him being such a badass, supposedly everyone's kind of scared of him, he wouldn't have just killed those Mexicans. He had like
That's
3.
what I mean. Like
he had 3 opportunities,
Yeah.
and then they ended up killing him in the end.
They could have.
He wasn't true to me, the character of what he was supposed to be portraying.
No.
Unless it was supposed to imply that he was getting weak, trying to be a family man.
That whole family subplot, I was like, my God, why?
A lot of things about fathers and sons in this one.
Yeah, really.
A lot.
I was like, okay, cool. I think that's all I have to say about it. I didn't like it as much as the first one, but I don't think that it's the most terrible thing that's on TV. It had a little bit of moments here and there. Like, honestly, like after the shootout happens after episode 4 and they get into the real detective work and they actually try to figure out who's setting them up and like what's happening.
If they would have done from episode 5 to 8,
right,
just those 3 episodes and reworked it, I think it could have been something. The first 3
because
were
I felt
extremely
like the first,
slow.
Like before they got to the shootout, there was like no detective work happening. It was just kind of like we're just walking around,
we're just setting
asking
up
questions,
who these people
things.
are, who can you trust, who can't you trust.
I'm just like it's okay.
I will say if you're talking about favorite episodes, I will say when McAdams goes undercover to the party, that's a very intense episode.
Right.
That was interesting.
That was interesting
to see. You actually saw State Trooper Man
Right.
and Colin Farrell's character work together to do
Right.
something.
Right, that's what I'm
felt
saying.
You felt for her.
Yeah.
She had to take the drugs. It was this whole thing. She finally got to use her knives. She's always been carrying around. Well,
she's been practicing those knife skills for like
forever.
every episode.
So that may be my favorite episode.
Yeah.
I guess.
I liked the last one because of the shootout. That was cool.
In the cabin.
In the cabin.
But then the ending. I mean, and plus, okay, another pet peeve. They put a tracker on Colin Farrell's car. And he starts to take it off, and then he's like, no, I can't do that. They'll find you. I don't understand your logic there. Okay.
Also,
what does that mean? And then
when he said he was going to go to a parking garage and just drop it off and then get a new car, I was like, yeah, why don't you
just
do that?
Yeah.
And then he doesn't.
And he says, I could lose these guys if I wanted to. What?
What? I know.
Did he want to kill himself?
Was he like, fuck, I don't like this girl, Rachel McAdams. I need to, like, get away.
Ooh, she's getting too clingy.
Ooh.
One night. All right, calm down.
He could have just, like, walked to, like, a gas station.
Yeah.
And, like, called someone and been like, he could have got a taxi with all the money he had in there.
Hey, Uber.
He had, like, $1 million in that fucking car, and he couldn't have gone and walked away.
I mean, he was far enough ahead of them at one point to get out of the car, run very far away.
Right.
And that was off a country road. He didn't have time to pull off on some side street they couldn't find, ditch the tracker. It was ridiculous. And then why the hell would Vince Vaughn not give the guy a suit at the end just so he could get stabbed? Was he trying to go for the gun?
I don't know.
You talk about how it's not horrible. I'm sorry. To me, it's horrible. I would rather watch an episode of NCIS or The Mentalist than watch this whole series.
I don't know. It's probably equal to any of those. I did kind of like the ending with just Rachel McAdams.
Okay, that was interesting.
I was like, okay. But that was it.
It did not feel cinematic like the first season did.
No.
It did feel extremely rushed. That's probably why there were so many convenient plot holes, like plot points. Like, oh, we'll just tie these two together. I did hear somewhere that it was going to be, originally it was going to have two women in the leading role. That he was going to go that way.
Okay.
And it was going to focus on the corrupt transportation industry, which I guess this kind of did.
Like
they
he was
talk about
go
transportation,
more into, like,
but that's all I know is they said the first idea of it.
Right, that's
was
how
going
it was
to be two
go.
women.
I mean,
and
the
corrupt.
idea of the season is not a bad idea. It just was not executed correctly. Like it's a very interesting story. Well, that was just not interesting.
The state trooper was just a waste of a character.
It was, yeah.
He was so flat anyway in his delivery, and the whole plot line was ridiculous to me.
Right.
He had to take Viagra because he was gay, but he had a girlfriend, and then she ended up getting pregnant. I mean, well, yeah, I don't know. His mom was weird. That whole thing was bizarre.
Yeah.
I could have done without that entire part entirely. I think Rachel McAdams and Colin Farrell's character, just the two of them on a different investigation, would have been interesting.
Yeah, it would have.
I think they could have pulled it off.
Yeah.
Plus, the mayor to me was so one-dimensional.
Yeah.
He was drunk the entire time.
For
everything about him was just like he was just a 4-year-old wrote this character, and there was a bad man who drank all the time, and nobody liked him. Okay, that's it. You got it. You got the job, Timmy.
You got it. What's the bingeability then?
I'm going 3.
I was gonna say 3.5.
I will say like 2 episodes, maybe 3.5.
Right.
But if you're going overall for the show, I literally was like, how many more episodes are there at one point? Like we're only at episode 4? Mm-hmm. Episode 5? Yeah. So I'm still going 3. Solid 3. You go 3.5.
3.5.
Well, I think this may be the lowest bingeability score we've given to a show.
I know, right? I kind of want to watch the third one just to see if it's better than this one.
Just from the trailers, from what I've seen, it already looks 10 times better than this one. Even the way it's shot and everything else that I've seen. Well, that brings us to Stump Amanda.
Woohoo!
If Vince Vaughn's character in this one, supposedly this very scary, person.
Right.
A stark contrast to Vince Vaughn's normal roles, right?
Are they?
Maybe. If you could cast Vince Vaughn as Frank Simon in any previous Vince Vaughn role, which movie would you put him in?
So if I want Vince Vaughn's character Frank from True Detective Season 2,
in one other movie that he's been in.
Oh, well, that's an easy one.
Which one?
Fred Claus.
All right, yeah.
Wouldn't you want to see him?
I was tempted on
Mob
that one.
out Santa
That's
Claus?
right. Just, you know what, Santa, you are a jerk. You destroyed my birdhouse when I was a kid.
Blows up. Blows up the North Pole.
He just starts running women and drugs to the North Pole. The elves all start becoming mules.
I think they would make that movie 10 times better.
Okay.
What was your pick?
I went a similar vein. It's Christmas related.
Oh, okay.
4 Christmases with Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaughn.
Okay. All right.
Just wipe everybody out
Just
who annoys him. Just be like, you know what? This is ridiculous.
I think that means that Vince Vaughn has to do a mob-related Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Sometime soon.
Did you hear that, Netflix? Get on it.
It's a mob Christmas.
I think you won this one. I agree. I think Fred Claus was a better choice.
Yes.
That would be good.
I'm so glad I won Stump Amanda. New segment this week, which I think we might continue throughout because I loved it so much when we did Iron Man versus Batman.
Okay.
In one of the Game of Thrones recaps.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to do Who Would Win?
All right.
So in vein of the detective, I was going to say who would win between Matthew McConaughey's character or Colin Farrell's character of detectiveness, but Colin Farrell's character is not very good detective.
No.
So I'm going to take a step back and say, who would win Sherlock versus Rustin, Matthew McConaughey's character, True Detective Season 1?
Oh, there's no contest. Sherlock would win.
You think Sherlock would win?
Yeah.
Rustin would be...
If you put him up against anybody else from True Detective Season 2, Rust would destroy.
But Rust was like...
Rust interviewed the Lawnmower Man and totally didn't see any of it.
Well, I don't know if Sherlock would get it either. Maybe he'd be high on heroin and be like,
We're talking Sherlock, Robert Downey Jr., Sherlock Holmes from the movie, or Benedict Cumberbatch from the series?
Oh, 100% Ben Cumberbatch.
Okay, all right. Well, he would totally he would destroy.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think it's even a contest.
I don't know. I think Russ would give in a good fight.
No.
I mean, maybe
if you're trying to decipher human behavior, certain behavior aspects, maybe Russ would beat him because in the books and even in the show, he doesn't know the most about human interactions. He's kind of emotional things are
go over his head.
Yeah, I could see that. But in straight up detective work, I mean,
I don't know. I kind of think they would be equal, but Sherlock would probably figure it out at the end. But I think that Russ would give Sherlock a go for his money.
I mean, they're similar.
They're similar.
Drug addicts.
Right.
They're loners at this point.
No family attachments.
So would that make Woody Harrelson's character Watson?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right.
Did we just blow up True Detective
That's right.
season
It's just
1?
a rip-off.
It's just a rip-off of Sherlock.
It is. Because
Mind
think about it. It's the
blown.
same thing in regards to both of these characters. Woody Harrelson is the one who can relate to people more.
Right.
He has the people skills.
Right.
Just
Whereas Russ does not.
Russ does not. There we go.
There we go.
That's pretty much every detective show, though. Every detective show has a Watson and a Sherlock.
Okay. All right.
Monk and Sharona.
Right.
Gus and Sean. There's always a
Sherlock Watson aspect. I think we just solved season 1, though.
That's why it was so good.
That's
it was
why
just
it was
a
so
Sherlock
good.
ripoff.
Sherlock ripoff.
Do you hear that, Benedict? You need to go sue HBO.
All right. So I guess the winner, ding, 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 Sherlock.
Sherlock okay.
would win.
We're both agreeing with that point. We're not.
Yeah,
not
but
like
I
last
think,
time.
but like it wouldn't be like a clear win. I think like Russ would get really close, and then Sherlock would like take it from under him.
Okay.
Now Russ and versus Ray, Colin Farrell's character.
Oh, Russ would destroy him.
Ray doesn't even have a chance.
But if you need somebody to beat somebody
someone,
or kill somebody,
yeah, for sure. I think. If it was a fist fight, I think Ray would beat the shit out of Russ.
Oh yeah. He's a brawler for sure.
He's a brawler. So Adam, what's happened next week?
Next week we're finishing up our True Detective series with True Detective season 3.
Season 3.
Maybe the final season of True Detective. I don't know.
Well, if you don't count season 2, this is technically the second season.
Well, maybe it should be. Yeah.
So maybe it has a couple more seasons after this.
Yeah, maybe if they pull it off. And then also we're going to be doing season 4 of Game of Thrones.
I'm so excited. It's my favorite season.
There's a lot of good stuff in season 4.
A lot happens, and it's going to be great. I'm going to relive it. It's like the Renaissance. Season 4 is a renaissance of...
Season of Gendry. Oh, wait, no. No? Not at all?
Season of...
Oh, it's season of Arya and the Hound. It's got to be.
Oh, yeah. Season of Arya and the Hound.
Season of Arya and the Hound. We'll check with us next week to see if we agree with ourselves, but...
We're dubbing season 4, Season of Arya and the Hound.
That's right. It's going to be.
It's going down. Maybe we'll get our theme song together.
That's right, yeah.
We'll play
some
something.
background vocals, some instruments, yeah.
Okay.
Bring the mariachi band in here.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share. If you want to leave us some comments, you can do that too. If True Detective Season 2 was your favorite season, please let us know. Inquiring minds need to know.
And then let us know what other shows are your favorite so we can get a calibration on your psyche.
If you think Vince Vaughn was like the best character, please. Or if you absolutely hated the show, you can comment also.
Yeah, tell us what else you guys don't like about Season 2. Maybe we missed some things. We probably did.
Yeah, maybe you can help us hate it even more. We will see you, Bingers, next week.
Bye.